Hello out there, and welcome to the No Shit Cast, flagship podcast of the X Factory Creative Network. I'm your host, Matt Frazier. Tonight's guest is a Sydney, Australian rapper and Reverb Nation #1 hip-hop artist. His name's Mugzy, and he'll be joining us on the show. My co-host for this evening, as usual, is the great wizard of historical knowledge himself, Mr. Eric D. Smith. How you doing tonight, Eric?
Like grapes, destined to be wine and not grape juice.
Okay, well, that's good to know. I don't think we got a lot with housekeeping going on this time. Actually, we made it through the March 1st launch of the website, and that seemed to go off without a hitch. Thanks again, Tangent, for putting that all together, and the website looks great. If you get the chance, go check it out. It's www.noshitcast.com. That's KNOWSHITCAST.com. Look at the work that Tangent did over there, and while you're there, check out the X Factory. Check out some of the other artists and stuff out there. There's a lot of really good stuff over there at the X Factory. So who we got coming up on the show here, Mr. Smith?
Well, sir, on March 10th, we have Dan Cross, who is a game designer and musician. On the 17th of March, we have Judy Nevin, who is the head librarian at the Ohio University Lancaster Branch Library. On the 24th of March, we have Dr. Paul Young coming to talk with us about the history of rock and roll and music theory. And on the 31st of March, we have Dr. Nevin coming to us, who is an American historian talking about American history. And on April 7th, we have Lauren Curtis, who is a visual artist and is going to discuss visual art, mythology, and other things of that nature.
Awesome stuff, man. All right, well, looking forward to that. But tonight, let's get to our guest. I'm going to read a little bit of a bio here for him. He was born on the 22nd of January, 1991. He had to fight through his adolescent years, struggling with deep internal stress. He found inspiration in Eminem after his first encounter with hip-hop when he heard the song The Way I Am. He felt that he could strongly relate to the lyrics of Eminem's songs and began to change his image to be a true representative of the hip-hop culture, and he's our guest on the show tonight. Mugzy, how you doing today?
Yeah, what's up, guys? Yeah, thanks so much, man. Like, that was a pretty dope introduction, but I should say good day from Australia, even though I hardly use that. I pretty much just say sup, but I want to keep it fresh and original for here in Australia, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's get the obvious stuff out of the way. So what time is it for you there? Because it's 4 o'clock in the evening here for us. So it's what, 8 a.m. for you?
Exactly, 8 a.m. So what's that? That's like 16 hours in front. Like,
Yep.
You guys are having the moon up. I'm having like the sun come up, man. So yeah, like it's total time warp, man.
I said, yeah, I have to know. I feel like I'm talking to somebody in the future. Tell me, what is the future like? How should I take the day tomorrow?
Still the same, man. No flying cars, no lightsabers, or nothing like that, man. So yeah, it's a
same boring shit. Yep.
Exactly.
Right on.
Same old shit, different day. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
All right, man. So, I got to tell you, man, I admire you, dude. I've been back through your music, obviously, okay, and I looked through some of the stuff on your website and your Facebook page, and you got to hustle, man. You mean this shit. I mean, I saw the schedules that you keep with going out and doing live performances and stuff like that, and I mean, obviously, you know, Reverb Nation's responded to you. So if you wouldn't mind, could you take some time and sort of, in your own words, kind of walk us back, man, where this started for you and how this journey kind of got rolling?
Yeah, absolutely, man. So I really came into hip hop when, you know, as a young kid, man, like me and my brother, you know, back in the early 90s, we used to bootleg a lot of, you know, CDs and burn it and stuff. And, you know, I remember listening to a whole lot of artists like, you know, Eminem and Exhibit and Busta Rhymes and even the likes of Bow Wow, man. And I remember, you know, used to have the parental advisory, you know, stickers on each of the covers. So if our parents like found out about that, you know, they'd whoop the shit out of us, man. So, you know, like that was kind of like my first encounter with hip hop, and I just fell in love with it. But, you know, fast forwarding to high school when I was like 14, 15, like that was kind of like the early thousands era. And I always say that the golden era, is obviously the 90s, but I still reckon, in my personal opinion, the early thousands was the pinnacle of its marketing. Like, I just remember it being everywhere, man, in like MTV, BET, and VH1, and like, movies and video games and clothing. It was just skyrocketing at the time. And like, back at that stage, man, like, I wasn't the Mr. So-called quote unquote popularity guy. I was kind of like the shy kid, but now I'm like a whole different person, man. And I remember I used to get like, punked and bullied a lot, and I remember it used to cause deep and internal stress, and to the point of like suicidal, man. And I remember my parents were it was like just a bad time for them, because they're thinking, well, we don't want to lose our son. Should we like take him out of the school? Is this going to happen again? And all this kind of stuff. And they told me to see therapists and all this sort of stuff. And they like put me on antidepressants. This whole just dark hole, man. And being at that age of like a young teenager, it's kind of like they always say it's like a developing kind of thing, where it's like you're growing up to be the man you're gonna or the woman you're gonna become, sort of thing. So it's all gonna phase. This is just a learning curve. But at that moment in your life, like you can't really see into the future. You always think into the now. So that's when, like, obviously I came back into the hip hop zone. Like, obviously artists like Eminem, being a white boy myself, of course, but and then I just thought, man, like, why don't I try and give this this rap thing a try? So I dropped down rhymes at first, but I knew if I wanted to progress as an artist, I would have to do full songs. So I dropped, like, I did like a demo and that kind of thing. And ever since then, man, like, I kind of got like a tiny little bit buzz, not to what I am now, man, but it was kind of just more like, getting those few heads coming in saying, yo, he's doing hip hop now, like, let's roll with him, sort of thing. It was like that little local celebrity buzz to like change my attitude, like my life in that sort of sense. So like, that's kind of like my little origins, man.
Was that the first time that you had made an effort to express yourself and what you were feeling, or had you tried things before that?
Nah, I never tried anything before, man. I was kind of more the type to like follow other people's opinions. Like, why don't you try this, or why don't you try and focus on stuff, like just anything. Like, you always can't really find yourself. You're like looking at their point of view. And then when I found hip hop, man, I was like, all right, this is like what I want to do. And at first, man, I remember doing my first demo, and it was just a couple of songs, but that was back in the MySpace days, man, but like before Facebook, and I remember reaching out to some of the guys that are in my position now, and I don't know where they are now, but like, I'd be like, yo, I'm Mugzy, like, can you check out my work and that kind of thing. And, back then that'd be sort of the type is like, well, we've never heard of you before. Give us a good reason why we should roll with you. And I'm just like, man, like, damn, like, not even sharing it, not even listening. Like, is anyone gonna, like take the time to like acknowledge me, sort of thing. So nowadays, when I'm more developed as an artist, I kind of look at that egotistical thing, and I sort of look at if an artist or whoever so and so reaches out to me, I always take the time to give my feedback and give them a listen. I always take a few hours out of my day to check them out, because I feel I know the struggles and the pain of trying to make it in this industry. And it's like, why put the next person down, man, that's trying to have the same goals and aspirations as I do, just because maybe they don't have the biggest fan base, the quality of work is not that great, but they've still got that that hustle and that drive to make that dream, man. It's like there's no excuse to put that person down. So that's how I kind of just that's how I look at it, man.
And there is a lot of resistance in hip hop, isn't it, as compared to other genres? Like, would you agree that there's a certain amount of your persona that has to be adjusted to fully fit into that, or that's expected from people at least, and not so, say, in the genre of if you were doing electronic music or pop music? Would you agree with that statement?
Well, man, like I grew up, in a hip hop era where it's, there's two sides to that coin, man, because I grew up where it's sort of like, you had to be original and you had to be authentic in a way. And I feel like nowadays, man, it's become very like, pop culture and like fake and stuff, flashy, and like a lot of the artists, man, are sort of just these fake personas and stuff, and it's made the culture of it so I don't know, colorful, and it's just I don't know, man. It's like it's embarrassing to see for a real hip hop head like me, man. Like I remember just looking at this culture and it just looks so gritty and like, urban. And nowadays, man, like I'll type in an artist like a Lil Yachty or, something like that, or a Cardi B, and I'm just like, man, like if yous were in the street, man, like yous would be slapping instead of punching, man. Like, yous just
yeah, no, you're right. And because when you were talking about the 90s being like when you were talking about it going from that into the 2000s and the golden era, like in the 2000s, one of the things that happened with rap music was the production value got so high that it had some of it had such a sheen to it that it was musically a bit indistinguishable from pop. Like if you were just hearing the music and stuff, and so I wonder how much of that plays into that genre crossing where you're losing a lot of what you're talking about with the reality and the grit, because even the production values for really early rap, they were using machines that were like 8-bit machines, and using samples that were downgraded because of the technology and such. So the whole music had a different feel to it. A lot of it coming straight from vinyl and such.
Yeah. Well, obviously the origins, man, was excuse me, like block parties in, the South Bronx in the 70s and stuff, where, they would use vinyls and stuff and kind of rewind the track and scratch over it. And then, you flip the two vinyls together and you can scratch it into like kind of like your own quality of beat. But on what you're saying, man, with the whole electronica kind of stuff now, yeah, it's like over the years it's become obviously more poppy and stuff, but to the point of what it is now, where it's like literally these young kids, will get on and just mumble on a track, man, to the point of like you have like obviously hip hop, man. Like I was a young teenager when I got into it, and they always quote unquote the culture for the youth and that kind of thing, but to the point of getting into a studio and mumbling on a track when you have like you could have a voice or something to say, like it's so disrespectful to like real artists out there that like have the passion, the energy, and a message, or just love this culture and music in general, and they get like a 5-second head starter, or even like get to that fame level where we're still grinding or even working to 9 to 5s just to fund our dreams, man. It's just like that's how cutthroat and like bullshit the industry is, man. But we still hustle and drive to get there, and just hopefully someday it changes back to what it was.
One of the things that that's come up a lot with the artists, Mugzy, that we've talked to recently has been that there just seems to be almost like a cookie cutter kind of approach now to music production, especially anything that's going to be produced by a major label. They don't take any kind of chances anymore, and they're more than happy to help you, however, though, if you've already established yourself as a sensation of some sort or as some sort of a marketable commodity, right? But beyond that, they're just it's all so overproduced that I think they're strangling the life out of it. And I wonder if what you're talking about isn't some of that too, where it's very predictable. As soon as you hear the beginning of the song, you know what it's going to be, you know, that kind of thing.
Oh, 100%, man. Absolutely. Like, you know, it's I'm very like I need the full package, man. Like, you know, it has to be with me the music, the message, and I'm a very big appearance kind of guy. Like, if you've got this real cool, like, swag looking appearance about you, I'm just gonna like roll with you, man. And I feel it's probably taken us off the music for a bit, but I mean that's where it comes back to my era. Like, you had these guys like your Tupacs or your 50 Cents and your DMXs and that, and they looked hip hop. Like, you know, you didn't even have to quote unquote them hip hop. You just looked at their image and their catalog, and you're like, holy crap, this guy is raw, breeding, gritty hip hop. And now you look at these, I don't know, Lil Pumps and Lil B's and Lil bitches to me, man. And it's kind of like, it's just like, you know, when I look at this new kind of category, and it's just like, oh, who are you popping? It's like, man, like, yo, I'm like rolling with this new, you know, Cardi B joint or something. I'm like, oh, let me have a listen to it, or let me see what she looks like. And it's like, she's not Lil Kim, she's not a raw digger or nothing like that. It's like, oh, man, like, what is this crap, man? Like, you know, it's just like, yeah, it's very commercialized now, but it's becoming very soft. And, you know, I don't know if that explains your question, man, but yeah,
because what happens when it gets sold for mass appeal is the edges got to come off, because the edges exclude an audience, right? So that's just going to be you know, as soon as it goes commercialized. And maybe that's what you're getting at, and I agree with that. When you look back at like NWA and some of the early stuff, man, they were punching people in the face. They didn't care. You don't like it, so what? You know. And now it's got to have, you know, there's a formula, and I'm not, you know, this is funny because this isn't even a conversation that's strictly about rap or hip hop. Because you can look at any of the other big, you look at country music, it's the same damn thing. They all have to have their tailgate party song every year, and then they got to have their heartfelt whatever. You know, every album's got to have XYZ tracks on it, and then maybe the artist gets one or two tracks that they can actually experiment with. But it's got to be sold for mass appeal, and as soon as that happens, man, the edges come off.
Yeah. I was looking at Matt weird, and he's looking because I was trying to think if there was actually any bands that I regularly listened to and bought albums from anymore that were definitely all corporate produced. You know what I mean? And I think maybe one band, maybe two, but for the rest, it's more independent labels and stuff. Speaking to that, I was. You know, Mugzy, we were talking about having something to say in your music. That's one of the reasons why I'm a fan of your songs, is because each of the songs is a story. And the last time I really got into anybody that was doing that I liked was Sting. Like, every song that he wrote was some kind of a story, and I appreciate it listening to the lyrics as well as the music. And I find the same thing in your music. I appreciate that there's a story behind that as well as good music.
Yep.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, Sting, like, it's crazy you mention him, man, because like a lot of hip hop guys have sampled his work. Like, obviously the biggest one was P. Diddy and Faith Evans' Missing You, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like that was like the biggest one they probably sampled. I know Wu-Tang Clan did one, and I can't remember the other artists, but yeah, Sting, man, like they've sampled a lot of his work, and you know, like that's where it all comes under sampling. But it's just that's great ass, man. Like, I'm more with rock sort of style, man. I'm more like a Rolling Stones kind of fan, man. You know, like obviously those guys just what is it, 60 years or something, and still going. Like they're almost 80s, man. It's like,
right.
Yeah, like,
And still having kids. Mick Jagger just got a chick pregnant not too long ago. I can't believe it.
like, that's insane, man. You know,
you got a long future ahead of you.
That's right, Mugzy.
you better be I can't even say it. You better be prepared.
That's it, man. Like Keith Richards, he didn't need makeup in Pirates of the Caribbean, man.
Nope.
He's like, oh, it's already borderline. Yeah.
That's just what he looks like every day. Yeah. All right. So, hey, when it comes to when you actually record your music, okay, can you take us through what of this? Obviously, you said you write the lyrics and all of that, but what portion of this do you take on, or do you just take it all on and do it all yourself?
Oh man, like there's no way I'll do the whole producing side, man. Like it's to whoever does producing, man, I tip my hat off to him, because that's a whole different ball game, man. I've tried it before, you know, trying to sample beats together and, you know, create it from scratch, and I just don't have the patience with it, man. Like, you know, I'm sort of more, I'll write the lyrics and stuff. I always start with the title of a track. So if it'll be Understand Me, then it's obviously, well, that's pretty straightforward. Like, you just understand me as a person, why I want to do hip hop. And then it comes just naturally, man. Like, I just focus all my energy and subject wise onto that title, and then it flows naturally. And then later I'll go to the studio, and then my producer Pablo, who did Understand Me, excuse me, he looks at the lyrics, and he's honestly like a mastermind, man. He'll look at the lyrics and the wordplay, and you just think, all right, I know exactly the type of feel you're going for. You're going for like a motivational kind of track, and then he'll carve up a beat like of just what he visualizes to be, like, you know, the beat, and then it's kind of like puzzling it together, man. Maybe I'll like get rid of this lyric, or maybe I'll get rid of this line, and it's just puzzling the words together later on into the studio, man. So I just do the writing, and he does the beat play and sampling it and putting it all together, man. Because like I said, man, I've tried it before, and I was just like, nah, yeah, you know, I've given you my few minutes, my few cents, man. It's just not for me.
Why don't we take some time here, and if you're okay with it, how about we put that track up for a little bit and listen to it here? That way people who are tuning into this get kind of a sense for what you're talking about, because I agree with you. And I would say this, man, whoever you are teaming up with for production, they're excellent. That's one of the things I did find. A lot of times when you're listening to indie music and stuff like that, there's some pieces of the process that end up missing just out of necessity, right? Because people don't have the studios and all of that kind of stuff. So when I listen to your stuff, it's album ready, it's polished, it's ready to go, and it sounds really good. So
I did want to ask you, Mugzy, when we were listening to some of your tracks and stuff, we were pleased to note that when you were rapping, we could still hear a Australian accent along with the Australian cadence worked into what you were doing. So most bands, you know, when you hear them sing or rap, you really can't tell where they're from. It was actually refreshing and different and interesting to listen to. You have the accent that you had while you're doing this. It wasn't in everything, but it was in a few, like 3 or 4 tracks, you could really tell, and I thought that was really interesting. There's a few bands that do that, and I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Like, it just comes down to authenticity, man, of just being original. Like, the funny thing goes is, you know, obviously a lot know Australian hip hop because of Iggy Azalea, and it's funny when you get people saying that to like real hip hop cats, because it's just like she tried, like, there's 2 sides to the coin, man. One, I feel it's great that she's made it, because it was just such a hustle to get there. But doing the whole, you know, southern kind of accent kind of thing, and then like in your interviews you're like nothing like that at all. You're just like putting this on as like a characteristics. It's just like, it's just so phony and corny. But like that's where it was leading me to, where I think in 2016 she was gonna do a Down Under tour here with T.I., and she literally had to cancel out, man, because she couldn't even get ticket sales in her own country. That's how much, man. Like, you guys can have her, like over here, man. Where yeah, like she's just a disgrace, man. Like, she's so bad.
And it
like,
serves you
yeah.
so well too. I mean, it's definitely served you. I think it does. I mean, unless I'm the only one that feels that way, but I don't think I am.
Well, it doesn't feel like you're trying to sell yourself as an American hip hop artist. It feels like you're trying to be, like you said, authentic to yourself and to you don't come. And a lot of these groups, like Eric's saying, I noticed this, especially the English groups, man. When they sing and things like that, they don't. They all of a sudden their accents disappear, or even their phraseology will change, and it's like, wow, so that's being promoted then specifically for that audience, right?
Yeah, like I totally agree with what you're saying, man. Like, a lot of artists tend to, when like they get a bit more fame or like rise more up in the market, or just even sell like a bit more, they tend to sound American, and I'm not sure why that is, man. Maybe because that's where the market is. Like obviously that's where the big labels are, just the market in the entertainment industry is in general. So maybe that's why. But sometimes, sometimes it's such a shock value, because there's some which actually pull it off really damn well, to the point you think, holy crap, that person was from the UK. Like, I thought he was a full-blood American. But then there's some which it's like, it comes across as like just damn corny, which is like, damn, like, is this how you're representing your country? You want to sound like someone else? It's just like, thank you, Iggy.
Well, how do you feel about artists like, say, like Keith Urban, that's come here and has really been a big sensation when it comes to the country music type thing?
Oh man, I haven't listened to much Keith Urban before, man. But like, I'm not familiar with the country scene, man. But I will say, man, I think the only time Nicole Kidman looked great was in Batman Forever, and the rest after that, man, was just she's not my cup of tea, man.
Well, certainly people from Australia have done well in the U.S. Olivia Newton-John. AC/DC, which is still huge here today. Like again, Keith Urban. So, but I don't think I don't think there's been any rap or hip hop artists yet that have kind of broken through that. It's a weird vertical that hasn't happened yet that I know of. Am I wrong about that? Do you know of one?
No, you're totally right, man. It's like, we can get there. We can obviously get the rock, the pop, even the actors over there, but something about hip hop, it can't crack the market. And I don't know, man. I can't answer that question for you, man. Because
it's strange.
I don't know why.
What is the hip hop scene like out there? Is there places that support that genre of music as a consistent thing, or anything like that that's around where you're at?
Nah, man. We obviously have like a lot of love for hip hop. Like, whatever comes out about the culture or just news in general, we always want to attach ourselves to it or know about. But in saying that, man, I think because we don't have the multi-plateau companies over here, it becomes, like, a lot of people do it as kind of like a hobby on the side, like, but they do they kind of like work full-time jobs and stuff. So in saying that, man, like, obviously you need money to, like, survive, but I feel that if you're not coming together and you just want to do it as a hobby and not like opportune network and invest your money or something like into like projects or opportunities, it becomes difficult for the next person in line to try and make a living off it, quote unquote, like with me. Like, obviously I'm like, a lot of people, man, that was going to lead into my next point of, like, a lot of people look at my tally up of like what I've done in my career and stuff, and they instantly think, man, you must either have a manager or a street team or a label finding you this, like funding you these opportunities. And I said, man, like it's just literally been me from day one, and obviously a whole ton of coffee as well. But like I feel that a lot do it as a hobby over here, but it becomes very difficult for the next person who does want to try and make a living off it. Because if you're trying to reach out and be like, hey, why don't we try this, or why don't we try that, and they're just like, oh yeah, we're not really feeling it, it's more just like a hobby, not a passion. It's just like, well, I'm kind of stuck, aren't I? Like, you need people to network with and to develop if you want to make something great, man. And that's why I try and get on anything possible, whether it be in the USA, here in Australia, Canada, UK, wherever, because if I get that one spark of like, hey, come over here, it's just the dream at the end of the day is just trying to make a living off, and not to be poppy and that kind of thing. If I have a stable income to make this living, man, that's good enough for me, man. Like I don't need the riches and the fames, man. I just need like a stable income to like live off music, man.
Yeah, that's brilliant, man. Actually, that's inspiring because I have a really hard time promoting myself in most ways, and it's really good to see somebody out there that's doing that for themselves, and there's a good reason for you to do it because, you've got a good product here and a lot to say.
Go ahead and play that track.
All right, here we go.
On the hip-hop music, just breathing that air for something to use it. It's amazing how these people look at you different, because you're not the same, man, it's just so infant. What do you want me to be, just like you? Nah, 1 + 1 for me doesn't equal 2. How is it when this world works, but these people don't pull you in, so all it does is hurt? No respect and no love. There will never be a change when these people will all rise above. It's a democracy, so approximately my rage will burst out, and all you have to do is just stop with me. Increase the peace at least for once, so we can breathe without all. Yeah, getting teased, cause right now we are all crying in the rain, ripping our hair out, going insane, yeah. You don't understand me. Comprehend me, yeah, come on. You don't understand me.
In that track, man, the thing that's jumped out to me most notably was the way that you used that sort of phone voice in the background of that. That was in addition to the lyrics, but it was the contrast of that. I thought was really interesting in the way that was put together.
Yeah, that was all Pablo's mastermind, man. I think he sampled it or something from if I only knew the band. It was like some, I think, rock band or something in the some rock electronica band in like the 80s or something. I'll have to like relay that message on him. But yeah, he kind of like found the beat, and then he like, because he was more like kind of like a rock fan more than a hip hop fan. He's like, what would be smooth if we sampled something, like into this, because at first, man, like I kind of just had like a hip hop chorus where I was more chanting it, and he said, yeah, that's cool, but it sounds a bit dry. Like you need like sort of a melody chorus, and and then like he showed me that, and I was like, all right, let's whip that in, and yeah, that's how it came about, man.
Oh, very well done. That's what I was saying about the production quality of this stuff. This stuff it sounds ready. It's done. It's very, very well put together.
Yeah, I feel, man, like as an artist or even an upcoming artist in general, like, studio time is just like the prices are just ridiculously high to, sometimes like, for like 3 hours or something, you're like for like $400. So it's like, who has that time and money in that, and I feel that, it's very hard to try and find someone with the right quality or just, the right time. And because I realized when I did my first ever demo, I was just starting off, and I never knew about quality and time and that kind of thing. And I remember, I used a professional studio. Like I was like trying to save up money as much as I could, and whatever it may be, if it was just like doing crappy little jobs and that sort of thing. And the pricing was just going up and up and up because it was professionally, done just for demo work, if that makes sense.
Yep.
And I remember what they do, man, is because they're a business, so it's like, it's you've only got a few hours on their clock, that it's like, give us the money, and then we'll do the few hours, and then leave. And I feel that it's just a business transaction, man. But with Pablo and like having a home studio and that kind of thing, because he met me at a youth center gig, and I remember, he heard my demo somewhere, and he was like, "Look, I got a home studio," that kind of thing. And we built a friendship, and I felt you need friendships, and you need that kind of not knowing each other, but more compromise with each other to make good quality work. Like if you don't have that, that knowing and understanding of each other, you're not going to make good quality work. Like he wasn't a business transaction, man. He was more like, all right, I want to see what your work can be, and let's move off that. And yeah, like a whole lot of laughs and everything. He's a good guy, man.
So one of the things and it kind of brings me back to a point here that I think I read someplace on that you're very, very open to collaboration. It kind of goes back to what you were saying in the beginning about kind of being kind to people that are sort of not where you're at coming up through the business, but
and networking, yeah.
And networking. But yeah, I mean, it seems like you really emphasize this idea of collaboration, yeah?
Oh, 100%, man. Like, because having this whole egotistical, like, I realize it does come down in hip hop. Like, there's been, over the years, there's been a lot of egos, and like kind of like battling, and I'm better, like I'm better at you at this, or I'm a lot more successful and that kind of thing. And obviously, when I was starting off, like I said at the first of the interview, man, I came into contact with that, which is like, well, who's Mugzy? We never heard of him before. And yeah, like nowadays, man, I feel they always say this industry is very cutthroat and very hard to make. And obviously, yeah, I've seen the first side of it, man. Like I've been through every excuse under the book, man, of like, wow, like of just, you need to work on this, or maybe you're not getting money for this, so how can we fund you? Everything you could possibly imagine under the sun I've heard from this industry, and I'm still pushing daily to make it, man. So when I get the next person in line to come to me, or I get that pop up on Facebook and say, hey, Mugzy, I'm this rapper from so and so, maybe my, like I've got a few likes on SoundCloud or something, but can you take the time? You probably won't check this message, but can you take the time? I click that, and I'm like, hey man, yeah, give me a few hours and stuff, do some of my work, come back to them, listen to them, give them my critical feedback and that sort of thing. So, and it's sort of just like, they become very not respectful, but humble in a way. They're just like, man, like I wouldn't expect you, to listen to someone in your category. And I just say, man, like there's no point to be an ego, like to have an ego about it. It's just more like, it's like just another person who's got the same goals and dreams and aspirations as me. So like, you know, that's how I look at it, man.
And if they're asking you, they look up to you as well. I think if they're asking your opinion, so I'm sure that when you answer back and take the time to do that, it's meaningful to them, and the advice that you give them, I'm sure they take to heart.
Definitely.
Oh, for sure, man. Like, yeah, it's just I know, man. It's just a good way of looking about it. Surprisingly enough, like that's how the more, you know, my fan base, or just the more myself is getting out there, is through those people, because it's like you're taking the time to help them. It's like a, you know, a flip side of the coin of giving it back to you.
I like Grubbing Out a lot.
Okay,
that was a really good track too.
Well, let's hear that then.
Grubbing out, where the party at? 'Cause tonight I'm going out. Grubbing out, drink as much as you like, 'cause you're out with your own crowd. Grubbing out, where the party at? 'Cause tonight I'm going out. Grubbing out, drink as much as you like, 'cause you're out with your crowd. Ring goes my mobile phone, my boys are on the other side in the home alone. Everyone's ready to get into their party zone, just knowing that this night's gonna be pumping on. It always starts around 7:30. I'm here early and I'm already thirsty. Oh shit, my mind's going swirly. Don't worry, man, I ain't leaving early. Plug my CD and let's get it moving. Bring the lace along so it's naturally improving. You better not sit there sober, start boozing. Who wants to play drinking games? I ain't losing. Oh shit, I'm almost on empty. Hit me up another, man, these girls are so tempting. Shit, please don't be carey, 'cause that's just scary. Come in the back, we play fairy. Grubbing out, where the party at? 'Cause tonight I'm going out. Grubbing out. Drink as much as you like.
All right, so that's one of my favorites, man. That thing, I don't know. It's definitely a feel good kind of thing, right? Going out, hanging out with your boys, partying.
Pretty much, man. Like, obviously, through the whole album, you know, it's very, you know, motivational tracks and stuff. And I felt like, why not just chuck in, you know, like a party track for the people? And it's funny, man, because a lot of people look at the title of it and they think, what the hell is Grubbing Out? And it's something, it's like me and my boys made up, man. Like, obviously, when you get like heaps drunk, you're obviously wasted, or you're crunk, or you just, you know, fall like dead. We call it grubbing, man, where it's kind of just like, like if you're drinking, you can't drink anymore, but you still have it, and you're like, man, you're just such a grub, like, you know, and like we just, you know, or like you're full passed out. It's just like, you know, one of my main boys, like Benny T, it's funny, like he always gets pissed, man, and like he always passed out, and I'm like, yo, where's Ben? And they just be like, he's passed out. And just be like, oh, fuck, man, what a grub, like that, you know? Yeah, so that's where I got from. But like, I'm also a huge Shaggy 2 Dope fan, man, and I love Shaggy 2 Dope from ICP, man. So I was just like, yeah, I kind of got like his like little feel of it, just being wild and out there, man. So, you know, obviously like Silent J, but not as much as Shaggy 2 Dope, man. He's just like, yeah, like he's the man. Yeah.
Okay, I think we both liked this one here.
We're going to take you down to the streets where a highly volatile situation is unfolding. Yo, check it, Mugzy. Can you check in?
Superheroes, we are to be superheroes from beneath. Yeah, superheroes, we have the power. Superheroes coming together in the hour. Superheroes, we are to be superheroes from beneath. Yeah, superheroes, we have the power. Superheroes coming together in the hour. It's Mugzy on the mic. You see the M in the sky. Why? A new superhero born to try. It was a gift that was given to me beneath. Just to preach the word for a bit of peace. At least because the world is hating one another, not rising above. So I'm your savior, just a brave ya of a superhero. Before you reach the top or go ground zero, take it into the darkness like Batman. This is a fact, yeah, but I got your back, man.
So what was the motivation for that track for you?
It's funny you say it, man, because like a lot honestly think that Jay-Z is the only rapper out superheroes like in the comic books and stuff. Even though obviously I reference them a lot, but I feel that, man, you know, I look at these quote unquote rappers, or, you know, rock stars and, you know, movie stars and stuff, and it's like, you know, they've just got this, like when they hit that iconic plateau, they honestly are like superheroes. They're beyond human, man. Like I kind of just like, you look at someone like Michael Jackson or Prince, and it's like, obviously, you know, he wakes up, you know, he lives and breathes like I do, but he's such an entertainer that he's beyond human. Like he's out of this world. And I feel like, you know, having that creative arts of music or whatever art may be, you have that sort of power to give back to the world, or just even the community, man, through your craft. And that's we're kind of like a, you know, a superhero in a way. Like, you know, when one of us dies, like, you know, obviously to us in the hip hop community, like Tupac, when he died, like he's a god to us, man. You know, like of just like he's you know, cataloging what he gave to us, and you know, it's kind of like Superman in a way. Like if you see I think it was Man of Steel, or what, the other one where like he died and everyone was like so morbid, just like, oh my god, Superman's gone. It's like, wow, like Puck's gone. It's like he's just a man, but to like he's craft and everything, you know, he's just like a god, man. And it's just crazy. And that's like how I kind of incorporated it. Like we are like superheroes in a way, man.
In such a short period of time too for Tupac. It was so tragically short.
Oh, it's absolutely insane, man. Like I think he was 25 when he died, and I'm 27, man. And like, you know, I just feel, man, like he went too soon. Like that's still a young man. Like that's not even a late man, you know. So yeah, it's crazy.
Well, let's check out another track here. I think it's kind of relevant to this kind of discussion right now, and I think the track's called "My Journey," right?
Yeah, it's the final track on the album, man. And yeah, like it was funny because at the time when I was finishing off the album, you know, I wanted to end it off with Aussie with an American Attitude, which was a storytelling track of, you know, obviously I'm from Australia, but I feel that, you know, I'm so passionate and everything, and I'm always networking, like I said, with the networking opportunities where I'm getting so much from the States, and I don't want to do it as a hobby. That I'm Australian, but I kind of think like an American, which is always opportunities and networking and that kind of thing. And Pablo listened to it and he thought, yeah, it's a cool track, but it's not an impactful way to end off the album. It's just like no one wants to end it off with a storytelling track. We need that more impactful, kind of like your superhero sort of vibe. And I was lost for words, man, because I was thinking, well, I have nothing else to write. And he said, why don't you just capture a song that explains Mugzy in a nutshell? You know, it's, you know, like how you got into the craft. I mean, like, you know, your origin roots of finding hip hop, getting into the craft, and developing yourself into what you are now. And yeah, I wrote My Journey, and ever since then, it's been like people love it. It's like one of their, you know, favorite songs when they listen to me.
How long ago did you write it?
2013. It's been a while, man, because I've you know, like when 2013 happened, you know, I released the album, did a few gigs and stuff and promoted it. But then I got into the whole acting side of the game, man, like the acting field. And I felt like, you know, it funded me, you know, more work. And like I was constantly getting work through acting. And then, yeah, all of a sudden I totally forgot about the music, man. And I was like, crap, my fans are waiting. And so hopefully this year, man, I'm going to release something new, man, because 2013 till now, it's been 5 years or something, man. So yeah, it's crazy. But I love performing, you know, like all these different characters and stuff in front of the camera. But I feel that it doesn't beat the high of performing your craft in front of crowds and on the mic, man. Nothing can beat that, you know, adrenaline.
Well, I definitely want to touch back on that again. Let me go ahead and play My Journey.
Sure.
When I started to rap and I was on this journey, every day I feel like I was learning. You made me feel like my future was burning, but I'm here right now, yeah, I'm worthy. When I started to rap and I was on this journey, every day I feel like I was learning. You made me feel like my future was burning, but I'm here right now, yeah, I'm worthy. Miss misery is how it started. No scenery or harvest. I always shed a tear of heartless. Pain became a darkness. Hit me when I was 15. Had no future, had no dream until everyone pushed me in between. Then hip hop, yeah, was my scene. I found something to find myself to get me out of this. Live in hell. I got back up, come on, when I fell and said the truth on what I had to tell. A new man with discipline. When the culture had witnessed my sin, I felt that I had to shine within. Show the world that I was ready to begin. Almost about to be given in until hip-hop gave me a new beginning. When I started to rap and I was on this journey, every day I feel like I was learning. You made me feel like my future was...
Very cool.
So that definitely, yeah, that song definitely catalogs sort of you from, I think you say in there when you start when you were 15, right? And goes through to that, well, whatever was present day, would you say 2015?
Yeah, 14, like late 14, 15. I'm 27 now, man. So what's that? That's like 13 years or something I've been doing hip hop. Yeah.
And there's definitely something too, what you were mentioning before we played the track, there's definitely something to connecting to a live audience, isn't there? Being able to connect to that energy and that performance energy that's different from, I don't know, maybe stage acting has probably got some component of it, but it's not the same, definitely.
Yeah, like absolutely not, man. Like I feel, you know, I'm not sure with that, man. But you know, I feel performing. Like I said, man. I think I'm not sure if it was off the air or not, but like performing in front of a crowd just like compare nothing to, you know, like nothing else, man. Like obviously I perform with these characters and that, but it's just nothing compared to on the stage and, you know, seeing the crowd just so fixated on like what you're speaking and everything.
Yep. Yeah. There's a flow and an energy to it that's you can't get anywhere else.
A synergy.
Well, so Eric and I are both musicians, right? So we kind of get the whole. We're sensitive to the whole process of production and performance and all that kind of thing, and that's all great. And putting stuff together that maybe is commercially viable is even great too. But there's something about actually performing your music and connecting with an audience that there's no other experience like it in the world.
Yeah, people either like it or hate it. There's very few that's in between on it.
But you were saying, and I remember I think Tom Petty, I saw something he said the other day. He said that the only real magic in the world is music. And I think there's a lot of truth to that, man, because there is a synergy and an energy that when you're doing music that you connect with people in a way that you can't otherwise. It's the only way that it can be done.
Oh, 100%, man. Like I totally agree with what he's saying. You know that, you know, music is life. Like you know, there's some songs which, you know, take me back to times in my life. There's some songs I can't even listen to, man, because it takes me back to that place, which is like I don't want to remember that time or that person or, you know, something. It just, you know, triggers the chords and that, and it's kind of like you know, a lot of people. It's funny, man. There's this song like you know called I think it's called "Let It Go" by Passenger, and it like just reminded me of this old like, you know, relationship I had in the past. Like, and you know, not saying like a sap story, man, but I remember like listening to it now, and it's like so bad that it's like I have to be out of the room, man, because it was just, it's like people around me are like, wow, what's wrong, man? Like, you know, kind of like, you know, it's just a song, like that kind of thing. It's like, no, but it strikes the chords of back in the day, man. And it's like whoever plays it, it was funny, man, because like, you know, sometimes I go to like, you know, the pub and that kind of thing, and I remember the disc jockey like at the pub played it, and I was just like, all right, let's just go somewhere else, man. I can't deal with this, you know.
Yeah, nostalgia hits hard.
Yeah, to write music, I think to write music, you have to be moved by music. So I gotta know, and based on that, where does the track "Strictly a Bitch" come from?
It's fine, man. Like, I feel that sometimes I get in these little like anger spirals, man. Like, we always have you know, our ups and downs sort of thing. And I don't know, man, I was going through like a bad era where, it's just like, you know, you kind of put me on the spot, man. Like,
I get this sense it's like a love you like a brother type situation, or it's, you know, because in listening to the lyrics, it's like, you know, that kind of feeling about, well, how come you treat decent people like shit, and you seem to only be into the assholes, you know? There's good guys out here if you just wouldn't treat them like shit, you know? Or am I wrong? Is that kind of the energy that it's coming from?
Nah, man, no. Like, I've you know, it was obviously, you know, more being angry at the opposite sex.
Yeah.
Man. Like, it was kind of like a time in my life. Like, you know, obviously we all love women, man, but I feel like the whole, you know, at the time I was going through, it was like the whole mind games and kind of thing. It's like, man, like just, oh, you know, you're going after these assholes, man. It's like, man,
Yep.
like, you know, like what's your problem here? Like, not sound like a high school sappy boy right now, but it was more like, it was just like, I was so tired of this. You know, you're a nice guy, but you're not my cup of coffee. Kind of
Oh, I
like,
understand, my friend. I
Yeah,
understand.
it's just more like, all right, like, yeah, and it's like, oh, he's cheating on me, and it's like, you know, I can't find a nice guy, and like all this kind of stuff. And I was like, look, I'm tired of this bullshit right now.
Well, that's the thing with this track, and we've got to play a little bit of it, man, because you hit something there, because that is so relatable to so many people. I heard that, I shared it on my personal Facebook. I went like mental with it. I was like, you got to hear this song, man. This thing is great. So let's check.
Yeah, man.
Let's check that out a little bit.
Great for that, man, because like the original was, I think when they did "Bitch Is a Bitch," I was like, yeah, I was listening to that in the car, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna rap my own version.
Here it is. Let's check it out.
She be strictly a bitch. They be strictly a bitch. Why be strictly a bitch? Bitch, what the fuck is up? Strictly a bitch. She be strictly a bitch. They be strictly a bitch. Why be strictly a bitch? What the fuck's going on? Most women nowadays are strictly a bitch. Why is it so? Why do they always act like shit? It's amazing how they can't be respectful to the good guys. They just wanna play around and hurt them with their lies. Yeah, bitch, I've been through it so many times, and it hurts when I tried, but my feelings keep getting fried. Your only excuse is I'm too much of a nice guy. Then you go around and get cheated on down the line. You come back crying saying, when will I get mine? You whine like a bitch cause you didn't choose the right guy. Well, fucking hell, bitch, I'm standing right here. It's just a shame that your vision ain't clear. All you wanna do is act like a slut. I'll tell you what, get fucked. Don't come back next year, disease knocking at my door, begging please. She be strictly a bitch. They be strictly a bitch. Why be?
I love the music behind that too, man. And that's the last two that we've listened to, right? Have both just the Grubbing Out and Strictly a Bitch. I just love the beat to those songs and the music to those songs. It's so catchy. And then when the lyrics over top of it, just that's it. It just makes the whole thing.
Yeah, like they're actually, I think Grubbing Out goes first and Strictly Bitch comes second in the order of the album on the track. But yeah, like obviously we got the kind of concept and like, you know, the instrumental and that from, you know, NWA's "Bitch Is a Bitch," and like we kind of flipped it into our own little Mugzy Australian version. Yeah. And you know, a lot of people love that track, man. Obviously not the female gender, but yeah, you know, I just feel like man, you know, I don't hate him. I just feel like you get those low points where it's like, fuck, I actually do hate him, and then like you come back and think of it, and like no, like actually, you know, it was just an energy, kind of an energy boost to get the aggression out there. Like obviously you hear these tracks all the time of these R&B singers hating on the men, and like you get the men hating on the women. It's just bites, you know. Yeah.
Are you working on a new album currently?
I am, man. Yeah. You know, I'm doing I'm like in the blueprint stage, which I like to call it, where I'm just writing up the tracks and having the beats and stuff. I think this one's going to be more samples and that kind of thing. Like I remember, I came into contact, like, because I do like a lot of listening, man, like whether it be in like a movie or just like not on the radio, like, sometimes on the radio, not much anymore, but it comes at the randomest times for me. Like I'll hear this beat playing somewhere. It could be even be in a shop, and I'll be like, I gotta ask the shopkeeper what that beat is. And it was funny because I came into contact with this Greek producer called Yanni, and I was just like, he has like these orchestras and this really like just like funky kind of like instrumentals. I can't explain it, man. He's just in another world. And I was like, some of his beats, I was thinking, man, like I gotta write to this. I have to write to this and release it to the world. Or even if Pablo can flip it and turn it into our own way, like it's just amazing. So I'm gonna try and get some samples from that, man, and like that kind of thing. But
that's cool.
My fans know that I'm gonna do a 2-disc, try and release as much content as possible. And the title wise of the album, I've been tossing up just to call it like the Black and White album. Like I feel that, one side will be like kind of dark, like, and fun tracks and everything. And then the other side will be meaningful and motivational and that kind of track. So yeah, like obviously, I kind of I like the way that it sounded because, I don't realize that there's kind of a gray area. I'm very a black and white person. Like that's how I look at my perspective of life. It's very black and white, like you have this, you don't have this, and that kind of thing. So I feel that the Black and White album would just be a good title for like a third release.
Yeah, man, that does sound pretty cool. That really does.
Yeah, and I like the thought that you're giving to it too. Will the albums have different styles of content? Will they be defined that way, kind of as two different? Are you going to go for like I'm just talking here, but like an older school feel, and then maybe a more advanced or different version of it?
I can't even explain what the beats come under, man. Like if it's old school, if it's new school, it's so it's like, for example, I've like got my iPod. They're already on my iPod, and I'll listen to them, and it's like, it's not even old school, this new school kind of stuff. I don't even know.
Yeah.
I can't even explain the beat. It's like these orchestras, but they're so danceable, funky. There's sometimes where like there's some which is like there's meaningful, but you can still like. But how I visualize them, man, is like I'm visualizing these beats, and like when I release them, like hopefully this year with like vocals, because like I'm painting the picture of the vocals into the beat.
Yep.
I feel that like I know for a fact that this third album is going to be better than the second album, because these beats, when I perform them live, it's going to make people just go wow, man. Like they're incredible, some of the instrumentals. So yeah, like that's all I can say, man. Like with that.
Have you done any videos, or do you intend on doing any videos?
I haven't done any music videos yet, man. A lot of people have asked me, like, where's your music videos and that kind of thing, and I never got around to them, man, because I was so focused on writing music more than portraying music and music videos. I just want to release as much content possible, and then obviously that's where I kind of got sidetracked with the acting thing. But like hopefully for this third album there'll definitely be tracks, man. For not tracks, music videos, man.
I don't know. I was just thinking you could do like kind of almost like live performance videos as opposed to themed videos, and that might fit the bill. That might give you a video and still allow you to mostly focus on the music and stuff without having to be like, okay, now I got to come up with a meaning or a theme that can be filmed,
Yeah, like I remember, like it's. I was gonna say I remember, well, I don't remember, but like, there's this beat that I got that I've been writing to, and I think they're the tie. Like a lot of people don't know this, so you guys will obviously be the first for your show, man. Is like I'm thinking about like putting a track on my album, and it's gonna be called Negativity, like where it's just like like obviously we want to think positive, but like in our current daily life, it's always been such a negative kind of spiral, and like the visualizing I've had for the album is very very gothic, but more like it's like we'll have like face paint on, like kind of like the Brendan Lee's The Crow kind of thing.
Oh,
but
okay.
very,
Like industrial almost, I guess, or a little
like
grittier feel.
Yeah, like very trench coats and like very melodic and that kind of thing, and they're all kind of not like dancing, but more sort of dancing, but more like zombified kind of thing, like where they're all creepily dancing together, and then I'm in the middle, and they all just come out, and then like the song starts like jamming, kind of like not like what Michael Jackson did, but you kind of get the point.
Yep.
Like it's very gothic-y and that, and yeah, when I listen to this beat, I just visualize it sort of like that, like not hip hop. It is hip hop, but more just like, holy crap, this could turn into like the whole hardcore gothic kind of style, and yeah, that's how I just.
Wow, that's
so
cool,
that's
man.
the first intake. A lot of people don't know that, so usually the first to even actually know that.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Well, I like that. I mean, in Darkness Falls, which is one of the tracks you already have out, you definitely have the ability to write that way and make that come together.
Yeah, it's incredible you bring that up, man, because before I released it as Understand Me, I was going to actually originally call the album Darkness Falls, and I remember I was, like my fan base or my close friends, I was like, what do you think of this? And they thought, it's more like, I could pitch that more in like, the heavy metal kind of like punk sort of section, not really the hip hop section. And I'm like, well, that's what I kind of like looked at it as, and they're like, why don't you title the album Understand Me? And then like ever since then it's been history, man. So luckily I took their advice more than mine, but hey, at least the track was on the album too. Yeah.
Yes. What about the far future, like 15 years from now, in that sense, if you're on this path still, what are your goals and your ambition? Anything in particular?
Nah, not really, man. I'm just gonna keep grinding, man. But I feel that I feel it's kind of funny you say, like now that I'm 3 years from passing on 30. Like obviously when I get older, like I said, hip hop is obviously for the younger generation kind of thing, and you can have like quote unquote, I'm obviously an old cat, like the young generation call me, but I feel that I'll still love hip hop, man, and I'll still kind of do it on the side, but I feel that if it's still not bringing me the income, man, I'm gonna love it unconditionally, but I'll kind of be sort of like an Obi-Wan Kenobi, man. I'll help like the next artist like in need to boost their career, or even if they need a manager, or just like to try and find opportunities and that sort of thing.
Well,
so I try and help them, because I feel that if you're a sort of late 40s 50s like my dad's age rapper, and it's like it's sort of it comes across as like a little bit corny, man, because it's such a young thing that it's like it's cool, like you can love it, man, but it's just it's not the feel. It's not appealing to the younger generation hearing an old man rap.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, I meant specifically if things were going well and fame continued to come your way. And I guess what I'm hearing you say is that at some point, famous or not, you would still retire and still do your best to help other people come along to where you were, right?
Yeah, I'd probably
you get into producing
to like go a bit sidetracked. No, yeah, I'd probably my main future, man, is obviously to write more music, but if it kind of becomes if it does go good, I feel that at my age limit I would turn to the acting side more than the music side. I feel that especially within hip hop, like I was saying when we got a bit sidetracked, man, it would be more of a mature position to go more acting than obviously like
that makes sense,
like doing the hip hop. So yeah, that's my goal that I'm looking at.
That's cool. Yeah.
Well, man, if there's not anything else coming up or anything like that you want to make sure we get out for your fans and stuff while you kind of got the airspace here.
No, not really, man. I'm just still working on this third album, so obviously I can't really release anything now because there's nothing out. But all the viewers got a first insight of like everything about the album or what's yet to come, and like obviously the music videos and stuff. But that's basically it. And I'm just gonna still do what I'm doing, man. Like more interviews and more radio play and that
Yep.
sort of thing until that final drop happens. But that they'll be able to hopefully listen to it or find it like halfway mid through this year, maybe to the end of this year,
Yep.
because but there'll definitely be something hopefully at the end of this year, and just in time for I think episode 9, man. Being a Star Wars fan, man. So yeah, like so that and yeah, like as a side note, man, I just want to thank you guys, man, once again for having this interview with me. It was like a whole lot of fun, man, for sure.
Well, we certainly appreciate that, bud, and and likewise, we're so glad that you took the time to be on here with us, and when the next album comes out, count us in for time to come in and talk about it and sort of do the same thing for you, no problem. We love doing this, and we look forward to doing it with you again in the future if you'll have us. I think at that point, I think that's pretty much it. We close up here, and we appreciate everybody listening, and we'll catch you all next time.
Later.